Okay, so I wanted to get back with everyone about the Fender Acoustasonic Telecaster. First off, I just wanted to say thank you so much. The previous video that I posted, most popular video I've ever posted. It's cool to see so many people out there that are like me, that were like, this thing that's out, what is it? How does it work? Will it actually work? Also wanted to encourage you, go ahead and subscribe. I'm going to keep making videos and updates about my experience with this guitar, and not only that, but my gear in general. And I also wanted to let everyone know that I'm going to have examples of me actually using the guitar in a live looping situation during like gigs, both private and commercial and public. They are recorded with a GoPro, just like the mic from the GoPro, and they have ambient noise and sound and things like that. I'll probably in the description in this video be putting just an idea of my signal path so you can see what's going through what, so that when it's coming out of the speaker, letting you know what's in its way, because I am still using the LR Baggs Anthem as a preamp to the guitar, and I have found that it does improve it, especially in a live looping situation, as far as like, you know, EQing, bringing some things out with some really nice compression. So I wanted to get to my impressions on this guitar, because overall this thing's been awesome. And so pros, it's almost completely feedback resistant. I play with a Bose L1 or L2 with a B2 sub, and you'll see this, like I'm standing in front of the speaker playing my guitar, mic's not feeding back, guitar's not feeding back. That's partly because of the Bose system, but it's also because this guitar is really feedback resistant. I don't have to worry as much in a live situation, like what kind of resonance is going to happen in the area of the room. It's super lightweight. So I oftentimes play 2, 3, 4 hour gigs with this. On this tour alone, I'm literally sitting in a hotel room in Rapid City, South Dakota, and played 4 shows, 4 days in a row last week. They were all between 2.5 to 3.5 hours long, and the guitar's so light that I honestly wasn't affected by it at all. It's even lighter than most acoustic guitars. So it also has light strings on it. It's strung with, I believe, 10s or 11s. I can't remember what they are, but that means very little finger fatigue from playing, which is pretty cool. I don't have to worry about like, oh my God, you know, I haven't taken a break in an hour and a half. Is my hand gonna cramp up? Especially like, you know, by the 4th show in a row. It's super eye-catching. I have had people, both while I'm performing and while I'm on break, just come up and take pictures of my guitar, which is completely wild. But no, that's never happened before. Like, you got Strats, you got Taylors, like everyone's seen a Strat, everyone's seen an acoustic guitar. People haven't really seen things like this. They're like Facebooking live, you know, videos of this kind of stuff. Another pro, the super lightweight but sturdy gig bag. What I have going on here is I actually attached the Pedal Train Nano came in a bag a lot like the Guitar Tick did. Oop, there it is. And so I attached mine just using the straps that it came with. And you can see another thing that I didn't notice when I did the gig bag review is that the straps have this really cool flashy red. It's kind of like this neoprene foam on the inside, which is super comfy, but also a super cool detail. But just wanted to show everyone that really cool little touch. So those are the pros. My usage of features. So one of the really cool things that I was excited about with this guitar wasn't just the electric and the acoustic tones, it was also being able to have a couple of different acoustics to choose from, because not all acoustic guitars are equal. Not necessarily better than each other, but useful for some genres of music and some depending on the song to song. Now I will say that the 2 that I've settled on is the Dreadnought sound, the 5A, the Telecaster sound, which is 1A. And I've played around with the tones in between there, but honestly that's what I've settled on and that's what's been working for me, and I haven't really felt any need to switch it up. I did for the first few shows and I didn't really like it. I do like the position for B, the I believe it's modeled after a jumbo guitar. It has a little bit rounder bottom end. I really do like that sound a lot. In some rooms, it can tend to get a bit boomy. And then when I've gone through the trouble of running my own sound, setting up my EQ and everything, introducing a different acoustic sound completely throws off the way that my ears are used to hearing my guitar. So I will say that that's a little bit unsettling. It's really cool that I have the ability to do that. If I was gonna, sit down and do maybe a complicated fingerstyle song, which I'm not really honestly doing during paid gigs. During paid gigs, I'm there to entertain, and that's all I'm doing. Anyway, yeah, 5A and 1A are the two tones that I've gotten used to. Usage of features, percussive top. There actually have been a few shows where I had to hop on a plane, and because I had to hop on a plane, I wasn't bringing my massive pedal board, which you've probably actually seen pictures of if you watched that last video. It's not going on a plane with me. I mean, it can, but I'd rather it not. And I took just the pedal board and a few other accessories, and with the percussive top of my guitar, executed all the things that I'm doing with my drum machine. Did it sound like, as modern and as full? No. Did it do a good job of like driving the song and making things percussive when I was hitting the top? Absolutely. I'll try to see if I have any examples of that. I don't think I do, as far as like footage I've captured of me performing live, but if I'm able to find any, I'll put them in. It has higher gain than other channels, that percussive one. So I believe it's 3B, which is basically that blade right in the middle. If you have that position, I think you can even hear it on the previous video that I do. When I switch to that position, I've noticed on some speakers that position actually has a little bit of distortion because I set up the gain for that recording for it to be set up with the acoustic guitar, and not thinking that any of the other channels would have a little bit more gain or grit to them. But yeah, that if you do switch to that pickup, just know that it is going to add a few more dB to your signal. And what that's going to do is if you have it placed perfectly, it might actually end up maxing out your signal, which is kind of a problem. So usage of features, Telecaster tones. I gotta say, the Telecaster, like the electric guitar portion of this guitar, is so awesome. I do covers of things like Get Lucky by Daft Punk, and being able to add acoustic and electric percussive like rhythm tones to that song really fills it out, really makes it feel like a full band is playing it when I have it on loop, because I can have several different textures going on at once, especially as far as the guitar tones. I don't play keyboards live or anything like that, so having that to be able to mix things up is super important, especially if you're playing funk or soul or blues or something like that. And it's great for percussive and lead, like the different tones that you've got. I've noticed that I've been leaving my volume control down about 10% from its max, and at any time, whether it's the electric guitar sounds or the acoustic guitar sounds, if I dial that all the way up to 100, I can easily leap out in front of anything that I'm playing and be able to solo instantly. I don't even have to switch to the electric tone, even with the acoustic tone. Oh, it's just so good. Yeah, so that's how I've been using the features lately. I do have some cons, and this is probably what some people are going to be interested in because of what's wrong with this guitar. Now, I will say that this is what's wrong with this guitar for me. And what that means is that how I use and how I play the guitar. So I'm an aggressive strummer, and because naturally I'm an acoustic guitarist, I'm an acoustic rhythm guitarist at heart, is what I do by nature. I play a lot of funk, a lot of skank guitar. I'm doing a lot of rhythm percussive things with my strumming. And the thing that I've noticed, and this has been kind of a big deal, when I strum really aggressively, that first string will just pop out of the nut and it will wrap itself around the back of the neck. I don't know if anyone's ever had that situation with an electric guitar before, especially if they're like a really clunky, chunky strummer, acoustic guitarist like I am, but it does that on this guitar. And I think the reason it does that is because the nut at the top, I believe it's actually radiused, so the nut is lower on the first string and sixth string. I don't have any problems with the sixth coming out, but the first string will jump out. Like there's some shows that I've played, and this is over a 3 or 4 hour period of time, where that string will pop out like 7 or 8 times. Now the advantage is that when it pops out, it's completely muted. It doesn't sound like anything when I strum it. But when I am using muscle memory to try to form chords and shapes and do solos, suddenly if that string is missing there, you're going to hear a couple of wrong notes come out because my hand's not going to be in the right place, which is kind of a big problem. So that's the very first con that I would say. My second con is that the Boss WL50 system that I have, it just doesn't stay in. I did buy an adapter, a 1/4 inch adapter. It's a right angle one for the guitar, but the problem with it now is that that one still pops out because it sort of leaves itself exposed. And I get into my shows when I hop around, when I'm having fun on stage, it pops out. And it just occurred to me as I was driving here, I'm just gonna tape it. So just before shows, people do that with their guitar cords all the time. So I'm just gonna begin taping it. That should solve the problem though. But I just wanted to give people a heads up if they have any wireless systems that they're using on their guitars that are like a bud sort of style. Charging, let's talk about that. I haven't had a situation yet where I've forgotten to charge my guitar, but it's gonna happen. Now, you can charge and play this thing at the same time, so that is possible. But why do I have to charge my guitar? I get that we live in the 21st century and I'm charging lots of other things, but while I'm on the road, I'll admit that it's actually kind of a pain sometimes to bring it in from outside and then like unzip it from its case, put it up on a stand, plug in the cable, run that cable to my guitar, and then I have to have the extra outlet space. And if I'm in a hotel room, that like, where are the outlets on this thing? Then I'm kind of like up a creek without a paddle. So that's one thing I will say. I would have happily had rechargeable external batteries personally for this guitar. And the reason being, when there are external batteries, you can always buy them from a store. Sometimes the venue has them. Sometimes people just randomly have extra batteries. Not only that, but rechargeable lithium ion battery technology has come a far way. And maybe it was a weight thing, because when you are dealing with lithium ion batteries that aren't in a case and aren't removable, you don't have to deal with the packaging, because you have to package them pretty heavily, because lithium ion batteries, if they're hit or punctured, can actually be pretty deadly and dangerous. So they're probably trying to save on the weight, and they didn't want to have a removable pack. So that's probably why. Or it may have been like a current kind of issue. I mean, I don't know how much work that processor inside this thing is doing. It may actually have a pretty high draw, something that 4 AA's wouldn't have been able to handle. So something to think about. The mod knob. I'm gonna list this as a con, and here's the reason I'm gonna list this as a con. There are some sounds that I want to have immediate access to. When I am in the middle of a loop and I'm going from position 5A, which is all the way toward the neck of the guitar, with the mod knob turned all the way counterclockwise, and I want to go immediately into a percussion loop in 3B, like that's me not only fooling around with the blade, but also dialing that knob all the way. And in the knob's defense, it's pretty sturdy. It's not going to move accidentally out of place, but that also means that I can't just like, spin it and it has like an inertia to it where it stops once it's all the way in that position, that knob. So yeah, it's frustrating that these sounds aren't like an analog, or I'm sorry, a digital sort of situation where maybe each of the sounds has its own position on a blade or a dial so that I can switch to it quickly. I like the idea of the blade. I don't dislike the idea of the mod knob, but I'm gonna get to my idea for the mod knob a little bit later. So I'll put that on the back burner. I'm not done talking about the mod knob. Ooh, but one question I do have about the mod knob: why blended acoustic tones? Like even position 5A and B. Why the Rosewood Dreadnought with the parlor, or the auditorium-sized guitar? I've never been on stage and been like, what's gonna make this Dreadnought better? An auditorium-style guitar, blended perfectly over my tone. I've never once thought that. Maybe there are some people out there, maybe that's you, if so, cool. But that's not something that I've thought for my tone, and so it leaves me saying, have there been people in the past that have been like, I really just wish I could split the difference between these two guitars. And then Fender's making that decision for you. You don't get to make that decision. The bag, I gotta be honest, I'm not particularly impressed by the shape of the outer pocket. I carry around a binder of songs with me. I do a lot of covers, as well as originals, but those covers, I don't have all the words memorized. I'm bringing around a big giant binder, and that pocket's just not large enough. It's weird that they didn't like model it off of like your average binder that you would buy in a store, because although a lot of people are doing music on iPads, not everyone is. I suppose maybe people that can afford this guitar, but I'm not one of those. So I'm not particularly impressed by the shape or the pockets. Another thing about the guitar is that the headstock, you know, because it's that Fender headstock, it's a little bit small for me. One of the ways that I ended up freeing up space off my pedal board, I got a really nice clip-on tuner. The problem is that I can't clip on the tuner on the headstock easy because there's not a lot of extra real estate to be able to do that and see the tuner and rest my capo up there, because I do a capo a lot. Because I'm a baritone, don't know if you could tell by the talking voice, I have a very limited range, and so I'm always constantly adjusting the key of songs so that I can perform them in a range that's comfortable for me. So yeah, those are the cons. Future ideas. I have future ideas. The first is that, like, okay, so we have this lithium-ion battery. It's got a USB micro port on it, right? My very first thought is, like, what is stopping Fender from doing what so many of their other recent digital products do, and is preventing me from, like, plugging this in to, like, their site or to a computer with software on it and uploading my own sounds from a library of sounds that they have. I would even subscribe to. I would pay $10 a month just to be able to, like, have software that I could plug in and then organize the different switchblade tones on my guitar and the mod knob so that I have my tones in the order that I want. I have to imagine that that's actually pretty easy to achieve. It has software in it that USB likely doesn't go just to the battery. If it went just to the battery, I believe the end of it would actually look like just a regular power cord or a 9-volt cable that you would plug in, but it's not. It's a USB cable, and I think that there's a reason for that. So anyway, I would love it if they allowed me to either reorganize the tones as they currently are on the guitar, or if I could actually end up downloading new tones, because aside from position 5A, 3B, and 1A and B, I'm not using positions 2 and 4, that is for sure. I would like to use 2B, but I can't because of the way that the mod knob, the interface is set up. And just as an aside, I get why they did that. They wanted something immediately recognizable to guitarists. You know, we shouldn't have to be tech gurus in order to understand this guitar. Like, it should still respond under our hands and under our fingers exactly like any other guitar that we're used to. So I get it. Another thing, it's really weird that there are no string guides for strings 1 and 2 on the headstock, which is another thing. Like, maybe that's what's causing my string to hop out at that point. I'm not entirely sure. They're the engineers, they opted not to have it. It's really strange when I'm looking at how shallow the pitch is from the tuner going around the nut and then over the neck. It just seems like it's not quite enough, high enough of a grade, but maybe the strings are thick enough, it doesn't matter. Future ideas, expand the pocket, expand the front pocket. Guitarists need storage. I know the idea of this case is that it's lightweight, and so you're trying to constrain us by not accidentally letting us put too much stuff in there, but let us put too much stuff in there. Otherwise, it's a superb case. So thanks for listening, guys. After this, like I said, stick around. I'm going to be posting a whole bunch of video of me from the last few weeks owning this guitar, playing it. I'll also have notes while I'm playing to let you know which position I'm playing it in, what song I'm playing, if you guys wanted like arrangement ideas or anything like that. So cool. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, everyone. Hopefully this video once again was informative to you. These are just my ongoing thoughts with it. I'm sure I'll have more the longer that I play with it. It's only been maybe 3 weeks since owning it, so cool. You guys take care. I'm gonna go to sleep. Bye.
Ocean of violence and blue. Animals strike as poses. They feel the heat between the air. How can you just leave me standing? Oh, so maybe I'm just too demanding. Maybe I'm just like my father, too bold. Maybe I'm just like my mother. She's never satisfied. Why do we scream at each other? This is what it sounds feels this good getting used. Oh, you just keep on using me until you're using me up. Baby, never act wild. Baby, don't cheat on the profile. You feel it?